Look at all my shit.
Here we are. Thursday, February 14th, Valentine's Day. And we've got a 3-game slate that one of us really enjoys. Have at it, man. What is tickling your fancy here?
I don't know. It's difficult to say. I just I talk about DFS literally every day of the season, and once in a while I get a real significant itch to play, and I really want to play here. I think playing both George and Westbrook will be underrepresented as pretty significantly the optimal strategy, which has me going that way. I think a couple of guys on the Knicks I feel a little more confident about with no Hazonia, I think are currently projecting to be relatively low owned that I'd want to have extra of. I just feel like it's very beatable for a 3-game slate, and you get to do just cool stuff. So I would enjoy the process of building lineups for this evening's show, put mildly, with a lot of Paul George, Russell Westbrook, guys who cost $39 and will get me between 6 and 40. It just seems like a lot of fun to me.
I'm glad you're excited because I can't wrap my head around most of this stuff. Like Anthony Davis for $9,000.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's compelling and rich.
It's just craziness.
So here's I'm gonna have to round some corners to make this logical thought process go, but here's sort of what I'm thinking. How many fantasy points do you have Paul George plus Russell Westbrook for?
Let me look.
I haven't looked at your projections today, but I'll guess it's somewhere in the area of 115.
122.2.
122.2. All right, nice job. So I think, all right, so basic GPP theory is you want to give yourself a shot to hit the nuts. If you're not giving yourself a shot to hit the nuts, you will be a long-time loser at GPPs. And again, there's not a purely binary distinction between a lineup that can hit the nuts or has no shot at it. So if you play the chalkiest thing ever will hit the nuts once in a while. You'll probably split first place with 31 other people. But, even if you slightly divert, it's not purely binary. So there is an optimal degree of being, to some degree, contrary. But for the moment, if you told me, let's talk about DraftKings for a minute. What do you think is the most, what do you think is a very significant chance of being the nuts tonight? It would be Anthony Davis plays like he gives a shit. There is a game between Oklahoma City and New Orleans, and Anthony Davis gives you a number. Westbrook and George give you a number, and then some of the many, many pieces of value in the Hawks and Knicks game, for example, or a couple of the pieces that are sitting around in the Pellies, or even the Thunder game, some of those guys go off for 8-10x, which I expect them to. I'm going to be really surprised if there aren't multiple guys tonight who cost less than 4K on DraftKings and put up 35. And so I think that is a lineup that has a massive chance of getting there. Now, it's also got a full, whatever you think the odds are of Anthony Davis not being engaged, chance of doing absolutely nothing because you spent $9,000 on a guy who just decided he wasn't interested. But, yeah, I find that to be less likely than other people do. Anthony Davis is an elite athlete. So the way in which he doesn't get there is he doesn't sort of give a shit again, or he gives a shit and somehow the coach doesn't. I don't think that's likely. I think he goes out there and sees Paul George and Russell Westbrook, and at least at the beginning, tries to get some work done. I say this with no personal information on the man, but just common sense to me seems strange that it's just like, yeah, I guess I'll just sort of go out there. Like, he defiantly said, I'm playing every game. Like, they were like, well, maybe we'll try and sit him. We'll talk about it. And he's like, I'm playing every game. So that statement is incongruous with me but I'll just sort of do shitty. And he still does care about his brand and his advertising and his market value. I mean, obviously he's maxing the fuck out somewhere, but you understand what I'm saying? Like, it just seems more like he at least tries. Now, this is a team that does not look good right now. They just got absolutely crushed in a game against an inferior opponent to this one, I think it's safe to say. So even if he tries, that doesn't mean he gets there. But I think there's enough of a chance that I get right now I currently have Anthony Davis for 32 minutes, which I have no confidence in,
No.
and 52 fantasy points or 53 last time I checked, which I also have no confidence in. But if I will say a couple things. A couple people have said that lineup isn't buildable. It's very buildable.
I'll tell you how buildable it is. I locked Anthony Davis, Russell Westbrook, and Paul George, and got 200 potential lineups just on my projections.
Easily. There's. I mean, because all right, so we'll lock those three guys.
A lot of them are going to be real bad, but not all of them.
40 of them are very. I mean, think of the value you can put in those other spots just from the Knicks. Like that leaves you with. All right, what is?
I'll give you one right here: Trier, Batum, Bembry, Cornette, Mitchell Robinson, and then those three.
Sure, I'm dubious on Cornette, though I don't recall his DK price. But yeah, there's those guys. There's okay, sure, okay, then that makes sense. There's him. There's Felton. There's Briscoe. There's Dotson, who you didn't have in that one, who would be towards the top of that list for me. There's Vonleh, who would be way towards the top of the list for me at 4,000. So there's 13 players who cost somewhere between, especially if you go up and like you had Batum in that one, he's 4,500.
Right.
If you go up to 4,500, some guys in that range are going to absolutely savage their prices. So basically, I'm building a lineup of and that's why I really regret not playing. Is I would build 20 lineups and 10 of them would start with Westbrook, Bembry, Davis, and 6 of them would start with Westbrook, Bembry, Drew Holiday. And then I'd futz around with that game not being close for a few of them just to, play some. Because the biggest issue with those lineups is you're not playing Trae Young. You're not playing Dennis Smith Jr. You're not playing, several other guys in that 6-7K range, some of whom do have a ceiling here. But, yeah, I guess that's why I regret playing it. I would be like, okay, lock it. Like, literally, that's about what I would do. If I had 2 hours and if I was legally allowed to play in the state in which I reside, and by either company hosting the contests, I would be like, all right, Westbrook, George, Davis, build 10 lineups with, between 1 to 6 shares of those value guys we just listed based on my preference for them with, I think I have Dotson, Vonleh, with Jalen Adams out again. Bembry would creep his way closer to the top. I'd have 4 of him, but 1 to 6 shares of those guys. Yeah. And then I'd build 6 more lineups with, Westbrook, George, Drew instead. And then I'd futz around with all those mid-price guys and build something just because, I don't know. I would feel weird having 100% exposure to George Westbrook. But to back that up even a little more, they both triple-doubled in the last game against Portland. This is a decidedly better matchup. And if you watched that game, they dominated that game. They played, whatever it was, 37 and 41 minutes. This game may not stay close. This is a Thunder game that Thunder team is currently much better than the way this Pelicans team is playing. Much, much better than the way they're playing. But we're in New Orleans. And, I'm supposed to, so rather than doing your standard, I'll take this 6K guy and this 6K guy and some Lamb and some Dennis Smith Jr. I would really enjoy playing this slate for just building that way. I think I would really enjoy that process. So today is the first day in a while I sort of got the juices going. I'm sitting there going, fuck. I'd really enjoy building this shit out because that's exactly what I'd end up doing.
Yeah, you can do it. It's available, and there's enough low salary options that aren't even outlandish.
Yeah, and it's also, and the cap is much. They're more expensive on FanDuel. The cap's loose enough; it works fine.
Yeah,
you can absolutely build, and there you use just Drew Holiday because Davis is now making it. You can do it with Davis, but obviously now you need even more to get there, and. We're probably, I don't think he gets more than, we'll say 34 minutes is a reasonable guess at an upside if this game stays close. The days of 40-minute Anthony Davis for this year are probably behind us.
Yeah, that would shock me today.
Yeah, so, at that FanDuel price, not that he can't get there. If I'm building 150 lineups on FanDuel, I have Cornette starting. Fucking team.
Oh, my God.
This fucking team.
I hate the Knicks so much, man. I really do.
Purely and the best part is great. And now I know it's Cornette and Dennis Smith. I don't know if he's starting for Hazonia, which is obviously most likely, and it's probably him next to DeAndre with Dotson and Knox. I will throw out a guess.
You're all right.
Is that it?
You're all right. And the worst part of it all is that it doesn't even necessarily change anything.
No, it does. Well, it does. It's
we know that he will play.
Yes.
is basically the only thing that makes me confident.
If would you have been shocked if Cornette got DMP today? I would have been shocked.
Lance Thomas plays 22 minutes or something like that.
Yeah, he's not playing at center.
No,
he can't play the 3.
He didn't play on the 9th or the 5th and played 4 minutes on the 8th. So it's not as if this is some sort of
and
like
then last game they're like, oh shit, let's run him out there for 14 minutes in a row or whatever. Like when you had him out there and Jenkins and shit, I'm like, what the fuck am I watching?
I don't know what to do with these guys anymore.
Well, we got to talk through it because it is tempting to throw up your hands, but I do think you can do slightly better than random.
If I'm Noah Vonleh, I'm like, yo, can you just buy me out, please?
I'm so angry. I loved Vonleh. Love Vonleh. 45 on FanDuel, 4,000 on DK. In theory, it was like, okay, he should really only be sharing minutes with sort of Cornette and a bit of Lance at this point. So I still can't guarantee anything, but he had been starting and sometimes starts and got 17, and he had a game where he got 29 off the bench. Like, looking at his game logs when he played and how much he played over the last 2 weeks is going to give me an aneurysm. But at least when you got Hezonja out of there, my guess was he started, and I would have projected him for 25 minutes against the Hawks. That feels pretty good for 4K. I'm excited about that. Now it's like, okay. I still think it's just fine in tournaments. 4K, probably try to move somewhere else on FanDuel. But again, you look at his most recent game playing north of 25 minutes, he didn't start. And one of the recent games he started, he actually played 3 minutes, which is inconceivable. No injury, no nothing, just play 3 minutes. Yeah, we're going to go a different way, Noah. Oh, cool.
I don't know what to do right now. Everybody's numbers look so weird. I don't know how many minutes to give Luke Cornette. I don't know. Everybody in our YouTube chat is like super mad at Fizdale, just saying like he's a bad coach. This has nothing to do with Fizz. They're not trying to win games.
Well, I don't know.
I don't think that any part of this lineup is what he would want to do.
Oh, I will give you that. I will give you that. That doesn't mean that he can't do this better. Like, I get we're not trying to win. No problem. I have no problem if they went from the beginning of the year. I went, you should start Cannery as your best player. Do that. If you're not going to do that, start Mitch Robinson and play him 30 minutes. I have no problem. I'm just saying pick a plan and stick with it. Like, in theory, if you're going, I don't want to win games now, cool. And they're doing a very good job at that, by the way. They haven't won a game in a month. Excellent job. Part 1 of the job is done. But part 2 of the plan is to develop players. Consistency fucking helps. Oh, I'm playing, 32 minutes? Wait, no, 4? Oh, okay, cool. Like, it's not an environment, like, you're not playing with the same guys. You're not like, I don't have a problem if it changes month to month, even. If you go, hey, I gave Moutier the starts for a month, that was fine with me. But he changes it every fucking 96 hours. That's what drives me crazy. That can't, I find that indefensible. There is no, like, I totally understand if you want to move the rotation around every once in a while. But changing 3 of the 5 positions significantly 4 out of 5 games is insanity. Like, so, like, I'm with you in saying I have no problem with the half of it, which is don't win. That's great, but change it every 2 weeks. Let the guys play 6 games in a straight roll for once. I don't know.
I don't disagree. This is lunacy.
Okay, cool.
22 minutes for Cornette. Does that sound reasonable?
I will take the under, but I don't think you're grossly high. I think and again, I'm doing this without actually going back and checking rotations and doing 16 other things, but
wasting your time checking these freaking rotations.
My gut was to say 19, but again, the ceiling is massive. He played off the bench 28 just last night. Also, by the way, the only team on a back-to-back, because we need more potentially confusing factors. Game before that, 12. Game before that, 4. Game before that, 20. Game before that, 17. Game before that, 7. Before that, 34 and 34, because stuff. Yeah, so I think 22 is actually about right. The more I think about it. When he used to be able to get that much time, and Mario is out now, there is a chance of him. So if you're asking me to amortize out an average, I think 20, 23 or 24 actually is where I would end.
I've got 22 for Cornette, 20 for Vonleh, and 14 for Lance Thomas. And honestly, you can pretty much just scramble those up if you'd like.
Yeah, I will say we do have a reasonable basis to think that Mitch and DeAndre split center.
That's the only thing that I am at least mildly confident in. So I cannot wait to see who they run out there at the 5 today.
Oh, I guarantee maybe we'll see. Them closing with Lance Thomas at the 5. I have no,
but yes, the one spot I'm comfortable is DeAndre
Yeah.
But like 48 minus DeAndre equals Mitchell Robinson.
There's 3 spots I'm comfortable at. One is Dennis Smith Jr., one is Kevin Knox, and the other one is center.
Yep.
The other, and the frustrating thing is, of the others, I mean, they're playing the Hawks.
Yeah.
Like, can't you be playing Memphis? So I just don't care. Like, I don't try to get the spot then. I'm not like, because like of those other 6 relevant guys in the rotation, really, they all cost $3,600, and at least 2 of them are going to get 30 against the Hawks. And so it is the key to winning a tournament here. So it's good times.
It's just brutal. And like there's no such thing as like, oh, we should plan for the blowout. This entire team is full of dudes that play in blowouts.
Or don't.
Yeah.
Or don't. Like, there isn't even consistency with that. I mean, I have been watching almost every NBA game I could for most of my life, but really consistently for 5 or 6 years. This is by far the least consistent rotation I have ever seen. It's not. I don't even know. Like, second is so far behind it.
Noah Vonleh played 15 minutes last night in the first half, played 3 to start the third quarter, and never showed up again.
Cool.
As if he's like some scrub. He's probably the second best player on the Knicks.
I on his ability today, I'd have him third behind DeAndre and Dennis, but yeah. Like,
it's just like,
yeah. He's, and with Mitch climbing up there, by the way.
A
lot of people are like, how about Mitch Robinson? I'm like, yeah, I've been there for 8 months. Summer League, I said the name Mitchell Robinson about 188 times. Starting on the first day where I was like, look, this kid like skipped a year and he was undrafted, but he's just weird athletic freak guy who's going to have some 9 block games once in a while.
Does Daddy like him at 43% on DraftKings today?
I think I do, because now listen, I don't think you should. If you're with me,
But like
I think
what kind of you is this? Lebowski?
You, Josh, and the Royal We. Yeah, you, Josh, and other people. I think generally I would want to have a little bit more than that. He's just really productive. The minutes feel fairly safe. I think he gets at least 20. There's a chance he gets like 28 again. But even if he gets, 20, I'd project him for like 23.5 fantasy points against the Hawks.
Yeah.
Like, and the reason I think I at least would want, we should probably all be on top of it, but the reason I would want it is because, again, I think my most frequent lineup is stud, 5 value. So I'm fine to play a lot of the 1 value I feel better in and just rotate the other 4 spots. Being my way of saying, yeah, I think I'd be on top of 43% at that point.
43% for Mitchell Robinson, 7 for DeAndre Jordan.
Yeah, that's great. That's great. FanDuel especially, by the way, where it is a $600 incremental change.
Yeah.
From one to the other.
Well, DK on that side is 19-5 in ownership. DK though, 4,100. He is number 2 in ownership right now.
Yeah, yeah. I picked him up twice in the last couple of weeks, and he got 33 and 29 in those games at 3 something. I was just like, dude's gonna play, and he's very Nerlens Noel, very similar. Just like he's going to get a pile of fantasy points if he gets enough time, and they're just giving him more time than Nerlens is getting. So that's very similar. Nerlens, by the way, not out of play,
no,
but he's tremendous in the I think that game blows out build.
Yes.
Like, if you're somehow not playing, all the other guys from that game, you obviously don't play him with Steven Adams. You limit yourself to the cheaper guys or the bench guys or whatever. And Nerlens thinking he gets 20 minutes because the Thunder absolutely paced the Pelicans seems possible for me. And you build that mid-priced, I play all the Trae Young, Kemba Walker, et cetera, guys, and just take a couple blowout spots from that game. That could get there. The one reason I'm more inclined towards the Westbrook and George thing is I really think they're going to have 80% of the usage.
Yeah.
And if they blow them out, how little are they getting? Like, if they demolish them, maybe they collectively get 100 fantasy points. Maybe.
I mean, who's helping them, or who's doing it then? Deontay Burton, Raymond Felton, like those guys are feasible. But if this goes squirrely, and the Thunder smack the shit out of the Pelicans, you best believe one of Westbrook or George did it.
Yes, and I still think both.
Yeah.
I really think, like, if they get blown out, I'm really surprised if you manage to get under 100 fantasy points out of them. Can it happen? Yeah, of course. Obviously, we have guys blow up. We have guys shit themselves in great spots all the time. But So the next thing I want to mention is I do think, what do we currently have Drew projected for ownership on the 2-6? Because I imagine he was my guy, and he was last slate was the exact same thing against Orlando, where I'm like, Drew Holiday is the edge tonight. He's going to be owned way, way less than he should be because he's going to start at fucking point guard. And that went way undersold. When he starts at point guard, his floor gets very, very safe, and his ceiling gets very, very tasty. And in that game, he only played 24 minutes and had 40 fantasy points or whatever. Like, he was scoring 1.6 fantasy points a minute or something.
I'd love to know if he's starting at point guard tonight.
Yeah, that would be helpful information. But
it could be Elfrid Payton. I don't think that he's playing at all, but it could be Elfrid Payton. It could be Frank Jackson. It could be Tim Frazier. It could be who the hell knows.
Four guys. Yeah, on a more consistent team. It is funny that those are four guys I could see starting a point guard. I'll go ahead and say I don't think Ian Clark gets there. But yeah, there's a non-zero chance on. I'd be pretty shocked if it was Frazier. Like, even if he gets time and stuff, it tends to be benchy.
Yep.
But I'd give him 1% or something. I wouldn't be shocked if he started starting. So.
I got a couple quick plugs that I want to get in here now that we got everybody in the door.
Oh God, I'm so annoyed at life. Go ahead.
EMAC is dropping a Rising Stars Challenge primer after this show. So check that out if you're interested in playing any of the All-Star Game type festivities. Alex and Tom are going to be putting out projections for the All-Star Game on Sunday, so keep your eye out for that. Jake, my former MLB partner, now dominating hockey, is doing a show starting at 5:30 tomorrow, and he's going to go through some of the NHL strategy and breaking down the slate. So sort of an NHL live before lock tomorrow. We're going to have the NHL coverage that we have is going to be in focus while we're gone for a week. And if you are a premium member with us right now and you have an NBA subscription, you get everything for the entire week of the All-Star break. PGA, NHL, NASCAR, all of it. You get access to everything during the break. Our gift to you. So if you're a member, check your stuff out because you've got a lot more than you had before. Check it all out. Maybe you'll want to become a premium all access member when it's all done. And if you do that, thanks for checking it all out. All right, that's it. I'm back.
Nice job.
Peyton out. So, well, that's helpful.
Okay. Drew.
Hopefully.
It's going to be Drew.
You would think.
it would be strange to make the swivel here. I mean, let's see. They were playing Portland, and so I guess maybe their theory was by starting Etuan at the 2, which is what I believe they did.
Tim Frazier revenge game for Portland? He was in Portland, right?
I don't know, and that's not something that happens a lot. I don't recall. I think you may be right, but I can't. I'm not sure.
I don't keep too many tabs on Tim Frazier's career. Yes, he was in Portland.
All right, good work.
14.
Nice job.
Yep. Over, he played, well, not a lot. 68 minutes in the 14-15 season, and then 272 in 15-16. So, revenge narrative for Frazier in that Portland game.
Nice.
I guess. Yeah, I'm going to have to give Drew a little bit of a boost here now that we know that he is likely starting.
Yeah, I'd go 8 out of 10 right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just, again, I want to reiterate Drew and, George and Westbrook were just brilliant last game in an infinitely harder matchup. So unless you're playing the blowout, you have them projected for an average of 62, apparently, if I heard 61, if I heard you correctly a little while ago. I don't know how you fade that with more upside on top and correlation plays on the other side as lineup 1 anyway.
63.5 for Russ and 58.7 for Paul George right now.
That's almost exactly what I had. I think I had 61.5 and 60. Something like that. But, yep, they're like 60 burgers. Cornette and Robinson, negative correlation in the same line. Nope.
No.
Cornette should play only the 4. And please, the word should means many different things in this context. And Robinson should play only the 5. So it should be unrelated. And again, they both cost $4,000. So
yeah. Luke Cornett's price is $3,200. Correlation is essentially irrelevant in those scenarios.
I probably slightly prefer playing Noah Vonleh. I'll just go ahead and get that out there right now between him and Cornette. Yeah, I know. Feels good, doesn't it? He plays more off the bench if you want to look at a sample of the last couple of weeks.
He could not play today, and it wouldn't shock me. I have no confidence. I just want the guys that are least owned, I think, for the Knicks.
He's going to... Right. All right, so let's do some work here. I'm gonna check some ownership, and then I think we should have a. I believe I will end on Dotson, Allen, Trier for the backcourt as far as how much I would like to play them in tournaments. But I'm gonna check ownership and see that it's Dotson spiked in ownership. Hey there, hello nurse.
Yeah, YouTube chat freaking out because New Orleans is playing Oklahoma City. Yeah, we know that. We were talking about the previous game in Portland.
What did I say? That I was talking about the last game. They played Portland, didn't they?
Yeah, we're right. They're freaking out because they're not playing Portland today.
I know that.
Yeah,
thank you.
You and I are on the same page.
Okay, if that many people got freaked out, I must have expressed myself very poorly in the previous game against. I'm sure I misspoke once and said whatever. But
yeah.
Yes, they are playing New Orleans. They previously played Portland.
I think we need to give the Orlando Magic Charlotte Hornets game like 5 seconds, which is basically what it deserves.
Yeah, I mean that's if you are going with the build I am advocating, it's really hard to get any pieces of that game you particularly enjoy. I do think Lamb is underpriced. He is, I imagine, pretty chalky. He was in the 30s to 40 earlier today. I can't imagine he's come down significantly from that. I slightly prefer Dennis Smith Jr., even at the price increase.
I greatly prefer him, but does Daddy like 35% on DraftKings?
For Lamb?
For Lamb. And if you need a comparison point for Dennis Smith Jr., he is at 33.
For me, definitely not. For the public, who isn't irrationally in love with this weird value stacky thing I'm doing, I'll still say no. I think at that point, it's not quite worth it. The matchup is just not good, and that's what does it for me. Like, he has looked very good. The minutes have been very solid. The shot totals have been exceptional. But that's all very valuable. And, $5,700. That all looks very good. But combination of the popularity and what's really legitimately bad matchup at this point, no, I will. Daddy does not like 35% Germulin.
Okay. I completely agree. So what do you like from Orlando? Obviously, Vooch is Vooch. I don't think it takes much to explain why he is.
Not a brilliant spot. Vooch will get you 48 fantasy points plus or minus 6. Maybe a little higher than that, 51 plus or minus 6, but he's going to put up a very respectable number. He's not cheap. I just can't look at Drew and George and Westbrook and want to spend 10 on him in a tournament. And by the way, Anthony Davis, who is $1,000 less. I get it. It's absolutely not impossible that you're going to need that other game to blow out. Vooch is the best player in your, I think the Pelicans get blown out lineup. Because your whole way of winning is, okay, I'm going to get 52 out of him, and it's actually going to be good. So I think he's like the best guy in that lineup. You're like, Kemba, Vooch, Trae Young, etc. Blowout value from the last game, other guys from the first,
Now, I assume you're fine with Aaron Gordon.
Of course.
So is there anything from Orlando that's sort of off the beaten path that you'd be interested in?
I don't mind Briscoe at 3,500. At this point, with the news that Jalen Adams is out, I would prefer DeAndre Bembry. That puts his minutes projection for me back up to 35, and him playing, actually getting, 10, 12 minutes of point guard against the Knicks feels pretty good for me. Didn't do great with it last game. Only had, I think, a dime. But, at this point, I would have Bembry ahead. I'd have to sit there on Felton Briscoe for a while. But they're similar to me, so definitely lower ownership. But I'd have Bembry ahead of the two of them by a touch now. What do you think about those three wonderful gentlemen?
I'd prefer Bembry. I don't really see the need to go to Briscoe, but if you're doing something like that, you're obviously making a very specific lineup build. So, on a 3-game slate, you can tell sort of whatever story you would like, but he's not a guy that I expect to pop up for me. I think there are options I prefer outside of this incredibly low total game.
Yeah, I mean, especially relative to the other two. Nothing exists in a vacuum was something that I think many people handle poorly. I'll phrase it that way. There's just days where, a 200 today, a 237 game is exceptional. There's only 3, and it's way the fuck up on top. And there are days where your top 4 games are 239, 238, 237, and 236. and it's still relative to the players not in those games, but people are still like, oh, I want to get this guy in this matchup. And I'm like, well, okay, well, half the players on the slate have that matchup today, so that should cease to be a significant justification for your actions.
Fournier, 22% ownership. I think that's super reasonable for today.
Sure, why not?
Charlotte, I get way more Nick Batum than I would ever want to have. He's been better.
It's 45. The game should stay close and stuff.
He plays.
I think FanDuel will be interested. One thing I want to take a look at is that no one plays tomorrow. No teams play tomorrow. But 3 of the players in the Hawks and Knicks game play tomorrow.
Is that Rising Star stuff?
Yeah. Kevin Knox.
Trae Young. Kevin Huerter.
Not Huerter. I don't think he made it. I could be wrong. I have not looked at the roster, which would surprise me. I was really good at Rising Stars. I'm apparently not doing a show for us for Rising Stars. This is my poo-poo face. That being said, I believe it is Knox, Young, and Collins, but I'm going to look.
Not DSJ?
See, now I don't even know. I'm not sure he made it. I looked at this list once several days ago. He did not make it. I'm looking at the lists. On the U.S. team, you have John Collins and Trae Young. And I want to make sure. And Kevin Knox. And that's it. Of the players playing today. Those 3. Unless I'm missing. I'm looking at the official page on NBA.com, and there's a world team and a U.S. team, and those are the 3 players playing today I see there. So Collins, Knox, and Trae all play tomorrow. And I might add, that's 3 days in a row for Kevin Knox.
So I'm looking at the rosters now. Wow, that international team's not great, but they have Luka and Ben Simmons, and that's fun.
They have Luka, Ben Simmons, and Laurie. You can put you and me out there; they're gonna swing. Like they're gonna do some punches.
Gilgeous Alexander, Josh Okogie, Chetty piece is just like, all right, we'll fill it out however we can.
Yeah, I was about to say, we need more international players. Whereas the U.S. team, it's the same number. Oh, it's Lonzo is injured, so they give the U.S.
I like the Ben Simmons, Lauri Markkanen, Luka, OG Anunoby, DeAndre Ayton lineup, or swap in Bogdan for OG Anunoby. That's a fun little team.
Yeah.
And what would be good here from?
I put in Shea, honestly, because Bogdan's defense is a problem.
Then I'll go to OG in that scenario. I don't need Shea to be on the floor. I'll let Luka and Ben Simmons handle the ball.
Yeah, that's fine. I'm in for that one.
All right, so De'Aaron Fox, Donovan Mitchell, Jason Tatum.
Oh, the best team is Fox, Mitchell, Tatum, Collins. You can't tell me
Jaren Jackson at the 5 then?
Yeah, Jaren Jackson, Jared Allen, and Marvin Bagley all have some sort of reasonable claim there, but, like, for fun, it's Jaren Jackson. For skill at this point, and just for better as a team, I think it's Jared Allen.
Yeah, I would agree there.
But, who got there yesterday, by the way? He got there. Now he had some help.
Oh, yeah, they happened to play 8 million minutes.
5.25 quarters or whatever it works out to again. That was exciting. I went back to, I literally was like, should I watch the 4th quarter? Nah. And I took a nap. And then I got up and went, oh, it's still going an hour later. Okay, I'm going to go watch the 3rd overtime.
By the way, you're welcome to do a Rising Star show.
Oh, sweet. We should talk about it. We'll talk about it off air. It's just, I love the limited things. You look at coaches' tendencies, or not as such here, but this, and we'll talk about it off air. If other people already did stuff, there's no reason to step on top of it. But yeah, we'll
EMAC will have his article out tonight, and that'll be our Rising Stars content. So if you want to do a show tomorrow on Rising Stars, it is all yours.
I'll take a look. Are there significant DFS? Is there 6-digit pools? Or something?
I don't have a single clue, but we could look it up.
Okay, we'll talk about it later. If I'm doing something, I'll announce it by the morning. I'll put it that way.
Okay, perfect. There you go, people.
There you go.
Let's close out the Charlotte side of that.
It would be 3 days in a row for Kevin Knox specifically. I don't think that's irrelevant. I don't think it's super duper relevant, but do I think it would make me lower his minutes projection by 2? Yeah, I don't think it's nothing. Now he's still gonna be, a a guy who's going to play whatever 30 minutes against the Hawks. So that really doesn't change much, but it seemed worth pointing out.
Contests aren't out, by the way.
Contests are not out?
No, not yet.
Okay, that's annoying.
Not
super worried about, Trae Young and John Collins.
No. I don't know what else to talk about. We've got 24 minutes, and we've hit on a lot.
I see questions.
I'm gonna hit you with we have some questions that we could hit, and then I'm gonna hit you with a couple ownerships. But I mean, honestly, we've kind of touched on everybody outside of Steven Adams at the 6th highest ownership on DraftKings right now.
Yes, he's still 62. I think that number is.
He is indeed.
Yeah, hard not to think that's halfway decent. He and Anthony Davis both in theory get better matchups with Okafor starting in there at the 5. Which is what I presume will happen, by the way. I don't think we have that locked in stone, but I presume that's what we'll see for the starting lineups again with Kenny at the 3, each one at the 2. So Steven Adams has obviously been not at the form we'd like to see recently, and just been several games where he just wasn't terribly involved. And there's a couple good rebounders on the other side. Like it's if he was the exact same price as DeAndre Jordan, I would probably play DeAndre Jordan if he's going to be that much lower owned. But you are taking 24 minutes projected versus 31, so I don't feel brilliant about that. On FanDuel, you save $1,000 on DeAndre also.
For real. Yeah, that's different.
Which seems relevant. DK, it's a lot closer. So FanDuel, I'd probably run DeAndre at what I think would still be lower ownership, but I do like stacking the shit out of that last game, obviously. So if somehow you're not playing Anthony Davis or Drew and Russ and Paul George, or you manage to put Steven Adams in there and play 3,400 and less at every other position, if I'm mathing that in my head right, which is not impossible. You can do it as, instead of playing Batum as your spend up after the 3 studs. That's fun times. It's also, by the way, not impossible. You get, dumb foul trouble out of Mitch. Mitch does have foul issues.
He certainly does.
So, it is not insane in that spot that, you get 32 out of DeAndre Jordan because Mitchell Robinson gets in a pile of foul trouble. And in theory, Fizdale makes the same decision and decides to stick with this 2-center rotation. I'm not banking on any of that, but I like each one more. Like, okay. I have him right in there with that crew of next guys. Like, he is, again, just the guy they like to throw minutes at. He is their Joe Harris. He is there, like, the number of times each year where I'm like, wow, I'm really surprised they gave that minutes to each one more. Wow, I'm really surprised they gave those minutes to each one more. Wow, I'm really surprised they, rather than not start him, started him at the 2. Took minutes away from Kenrich to give to him. Like, he's their Joe Harris. It's just, they always manage to throw him his ducks. So don't hate each one more. FanDuel, you're dropping him at 42. DK's 38 or 39 or something. He's absolutely fine to play. And again, I'm like stacking up a little more of that game. And if you're building that lineup, I'm talking about you're playing either Anthony or Drew and no one else on that side when you're spending $23,000 on 2 guys on the other side. So he slots in there nicely to get a second Pelly. Same thing with Jaleel. Same idea.
I want to know that starting lineup so bad because if he's starting, I love him today at 5,300 and he's not getting all that much ownership.
Yep, I totally agree. That's you should have a plan. And I'll go 60-40 he starts.
I assume he does.
They like I'll actually go higher than that when I think about it. I'll go 75-25. They like I was thinking I'll go 60-40, they run the same lineup is what I was thinking, where they start each one at the 2 again and Kenny and so on. But they like Randall off the bench. Like that is their plan A.
It's weird, but they do.
Yep. They and again, well, I don't know if it's that weird because it does a lot of things for them. One, they don't want to win anymore. Like the first game where Kenny came out of nowhere and played like 27 minutes off the bench and played through the overtime and the whole thing, I was like, I don't think he goes back. I think they play this guy the rest of the year because it was right when it was literally about the day after Anthony Davis said, "Get me the hell out of here." And I was like, okay. And then at this point, they are toot everyone, into the Abrams because we are gonna tank. Like, and so, it's why press Randall, who who Randall is, part of your future probably, great player, exactly what he does basically. Let's get some more time Jahlil Okafor was an NBA washout a couple months ago.
Yeah.
Now, how good can he get? He's in much better shape. So let's throw more minutes at the kid who isn't as good right now, but we're fine with that. So it's sort of the same thing where, Moore's on an expiring, I think, so they don't really mind burning him out. So it sort of makes sense for him. So, yeah, it kind of makes sense to me that they do that. It isn't their best way to win, but that's not something that concerns them. Last guy I want to mention is Amari Spellman.
Ooh, hit it. Not somebody that I've heard really mentioned today. So
he's not out of play on FanDuel. I think he's 37 on FanDuel. You need foul trouble on dudes, but he did have 50 fantasy points against the Knicks this year, which doesn't mean anything. The relevant thing there was Alex Len had 4 fouls and Dedmon had 5, whatever the hell it was. But has been random ceiling spike guy where you can drop him. I think he's cute to play on FanDuel. You're going to have tons of ownership on Gordon and at this point Cornette, and so just pivots off guys that I don't have a ton of confidence in. So FanDuel where he's been able to be steely blocky on occasion, though really inconsistently. He's weird. He literally will not get a steal or a block for 40 minutes and then play 20 minutes in a game and get 3 and 4, and you're like, oh, okay, odd. But he tends to bunches of stuff. So I just bring him up as I doubt his name has been said much today, and
it has not.
I don't think he's out of play on FanDuel. I'd still play Vonleh over Cornette right now.
Okay.
Feels weird, but in tournaments it feels right.
I'm going to start hitting some of the questions that are coming into Slack.
I mean, it's been a while since starting has been. No jokes. Starting for the Knicks is not what it's cooked up to be. It's got nothing to do with blowouts or anything. They do it in close games and shit. But there's so many games where it's like Hazonia plays 22 off the bench. Hazonia then plays 25 off the bench. He moves into the starting rotation and plays 17. Dotson plays 26 off the bench. Dotson plays 31 off the bench, moves to the starting lineup and plays 18. So many, Vonleh we just talked about. Yeah. Start, plays 3. Next game comes off the bench and plays 25. It's just, I imagine it still slightly correlates as higher if you count Dennis Smith Jr. and DeAndre Jordan and Kevin Knox. But if you remove those guys and just talk about the random ship players, I don't think starting. I think most of the players on this team have played more minutes when not starting, which is hilarious. But probably one of the only times in the history of the NBA. I'm going to look that up at some point.
That's a giant pain in the ass, too.
I will data crunch that. Well, I'm really curious. But it wouldn't surprise me if we're talking about the 7 or 8 fringe guys on this team, that they average more minutes when they do not start. For just players who have started this year. I'm going to look that up and come back with that, because this is a incredibly unique effort.
What's your preference in Mitchell Robinson or Jahlil Okafor? Same grades and same price on FanDuel.
Ownership, I imagine right now we have 20% Mitch and 4% Jahlil on FanDuel.
Jahlil is 22.
Ooh, excuse me.
And Mitch is
gotta be about there.
23.
Yeah. How much is he?
He is 5,400 on FanDuel.
Right, but you said 22 and 23?
Yep.
I forgot how cheap Jahlil was there relative to other guys when I said 4%. So that's,
yeah.
I was just thinking DK where you get $1,300 off or whatever it is on Mitch. What are my feelings on him right now there? They're the same. Wow, that's really interesting. Basically same ownership, same price. Those two guys right now.
Yeah. To me, it's Okafor if he's starting.
Right. Oh, I agree with that if that's the case. And plus, I'm trying to get more on that game. Again, my many lineups I have there would be Westbrook, George, Drew. So yeah, if I can still afford that, which you easily can on FanDuel, by the way, you can build that sucker out. You can easily afford $5,300 at your center.
Yeah.
Then for that reason, a couple other things would be Jahlil for me. But I do think it's close enough that it involves. I think the deciding factor there is what the rest of your lineup looks like. Like in a vacuum, which do I prefer? I can't answer without knowing what your other 8 dudes are really.
Yeah, on a 3-game slate, that is significantly more important.
Right. Yeah. If you have more Hawks and Knicks relatively, or not both of Westbrook and George, then I probably play Mitch. Whereas if you know what I'm saying, it's going to have more to do with the story you're telling.
Batum and Trier or Allen and Dotson, DK Cash.
I guess I'll take Batum and Trier because you have one player who's kind of cashy on that side as opposed to zero.
Yeah.
I feel you. You've built the cash lineup and you have whatever that is, 8,200 left over, and you're like, okay, here it is. If you
That's
don't
exactly
have
what's happening there, by the
if
way.
you don't have them, it's Cornet and guy who costs 5,000 to 5,200. By the way, I'm assuming you have Cornet in there at 3,200, who is pretty good at cash now.
Yep.
But if you don't have Cornet, it's Cornet and guy who costs $5,000 in that lineup.
All right. Bembry or Burton in cash?
Bembry, not terribly close. I'm not even sure Burton gets that much time, and I think he produces less than he did last time.
Yeah,
I would run a lot of guys over Burton. I would run almost all the Knicks, maybe all the Knicks, and not all the Knicks, obviously. I'm not saying Jenkins, but I mean, of all those $3,700 Knicks we're talking about, I'd probably run each one in there too. So Burton's pretty far down for me.
So then Ferguson over Burton in a GPP?
Eh. So GPPs are about upside, and neither of those guys are screaming upside to me, but it's probably still Ferg, yeah.
Yeah.
You and I did this the other day where we both yelled out, play Ferg and not Avery Bradley. That was you and me, right?
It was. Wait, no, it was.
No,
it was
not Dang.
It was Ferg and Dang.
It was Dang. We got asked twice by two different people, once in chat and once on the show. Yep. And we were both like, neither, they're terrible. But if you have to play Ferg, and then Dang went out and
yes, he did.
35-minuted and stuff, so.
Let's see what else we've got here. FanDuel, Bembry or Moore?
Yeah, FanDuel. That's a little interesting. There you're just sort of spiking upside and you get the drop. That's again going to be where you're stacking. If you are heavier already on the OKC New Orleans game, then probably I would stick with each one there. I probably have Bembry projected for like a fantasy point higher at this point. Like, I think I have more likely getting 27, 28 minutes. Bembry likely getting 24, 25. But he's going to get that backup point minutes. So I think I would have Bembry projected slightly higher. But again, the dominating factor for me would be telling the story. So I would stick with the team, whatever that is.
And this is a testament of this slate. Amari Spellman or Kem Birch?
Yee! Whoa, the party.
If that doesn't scream all-star break, nothing does.
Right. And again, for me, probably most of the time it's Kem Birch because I'm hoping that game somehow blows out. So, like, I'm trying to spike an upside. I'm probably going to drop either dude, right?
Jesus, there's
like,
the second Kem Birch question of the day in Slack. What are you people doing today?
What a party. But yeah, your theory is, okay, like, I obviously am spending no money on anyone in that goddamn game. So I'm hoping it blows out anyway.
Yeah.
And both of those players are probably my drop, or at least have a very high chance. So I want to try to spike some stupid upside, and that's Kem Birch getting 20 minutes because that game is a massive blowout. So I'd probably play Kem Birch then. But, you know, it's a brave new world.
Good God, people. I feel like we're getting trolled. Birch, Owundu, or Spellman in the DK GPP?
It's a party.
What is happening?
I will say in one lineup, I don't think you should be playing any of those men. I want to start by, making that just, and that's, I'm saying that in a vacuum, but there's just, they would rank all somewhere in my 13th to 18th best 3-point X play value, I think. But Birch, Owundu, or, sorry, who was the third?
Spellman.
I imagine most of the time I would be on Spellman. Again, I think it's most important to tell a story.
Okay. All right, we have Anthony Davis's ownership on DK right now at 28%. What are your thoughts?
Again, I've spoken about this a couple times recently. I'm more of a single lineup guy just because I come at this from a game design background, which is what I did for 10 years before getting into DFS. So I'm very solve the puzzle. Here is your answer lineup. It always feels weird to me to be like, yeah, I set some exposures and it threw out some lineups, and I don't even know exactly what's in some of them, but hopefully one of them wins for me. Doesn't feel as good to me. It's not the way I want to go at it. I think it's great. It's tremendous fun the few times I've been able to do it, but so I am inclined to like Anthony Davis because 28%. Again, I think it's. The math for me works out. I think it's likely he tries to play hard. I think it's then still at least 60% likely the game stays close. So let's say it's only 60% likely he tries hard and 60% likely the game stays close. Okay. If I get both those things 36% of the time, he's going to crush 9K, right? Or at least be decent.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. It seems to me to math out, and obviously I'm pulling all these numbers out of my ass, and nothing is that straight. There's a million possibilities, which I'm distilling into 2 or 3. But, yeah, I would want more than 28%.
My thought process right now is just stay with the field because I've never had less confidence in something. He could come out and play 24 minutes and act like he does not care about basketball at all. He can come out and play 34 minutes and put up 80. Both of those things feel like reasonable outcomes today. So for me, I'm trying to avoid it.
Okay. I think that's fine. And again, from the way you do it, that makes sense. It's just an entirely, like, I build a lineup, you do exposures versus the field, which are sort of entirely different processes, both of which are really cool, but very different in a way. But yeah, that makes sense. You're not going to play 100%. You're not going to play 0. So if you want to go over, under, or near, and you're just like, yeah, I don't have a lot of confidence, so I'll go near, and I'll let my other decisions guide and that seems like a perfectly reasonable take for me.
Yeah, it's one of the, it's probably the most unique scenario in DFS in, like, I don't even know how long.
It really is. Having one of the, I will be gentle, top 2 fantasy basketball players in the world, maybe top 3, you could argue that he's behind Harden. No, he's really a top 2 fantasy basketball player in the world. A top 5 player in the league. I think it's safe to put both those numbers out there, where we don't know what his minutes will be or his outcome, and the whole trade thing hovering over his head, and he plays in the All-Star game in a few days, and yes, it is an incredibly unique confluence of circumstances. I love it, but yes, I love chaos. I want more shit. Again, I'm not the one trying to handle 150 lineups, so I'm very sympathetic. But I'm a huge fan of shit lighting on fire because there's more shit to react to. And if you watch a ton of basketball and read about it on Twitter all day and just try to know everything you can, in theory, every time there's a decision point, you pivot 1% better than everybody else. And the more pivots, the better you are. If everyone's like, yeah, nothing happened today, we all have roughly the same projections, I don't think you can beat it. So, like, I think the only way you can beat the game is pivoting. I think the only way you could long term be like, I'm better than 15% rake is pivoting on shit. So I think the more fires, the better for the team.
Who do you like more on FanDuel, Westbrook or Paul George?
Paul George because of the position. Huh. And I like him more on DK because he's way too fucking cheap.
Yep.
He's just too cheap. Like, yeah. He's been so good. So good. He is very possibly the actual most valuable player in the league. Like,
we had this conversation on Tuesday.
Oh, did we? Yeah. Just as far as
by we, I meant Laffy and I. Sorry.
Sure. Just because comparing him to the other MVP candidates, he's a monster defensively, and no one gives a shit about that, and it just doesn't get factored into the decision.
Right.
But he is one of the best few defenders in the league. Like, I'll put him a nudge behind Kawhi, and you can have a bit of this and a bit of that, looking at, say, Gobert, and but he's an incredibly good defender who can guard easily 4 positions. And but his recovery and excelling into this new tier of amazingness is incredible after that injury and everything. I love a good redemption story. Like, I want Michael Vick to be president of the United States. I'm just a huge fan of people getting right after their shit is all sideways. Shout out Seth Yates. Sorry, that just really seemed appropriate. I'm a big fan of redemption, so watching him fold up his leg like that, which I have also done, though not that bad. I just had the bone stick out a little bit. I didn't actually hinge the door. Is just great. I love that shit. Love it. I love that he stayed in OKC and it's somehow working.
Yeah.
Like, he went, I'm going to stay in OKC for 4 years, and I'm like, what? That is not what I expected. Like, I don't know what the fucking odds were there, but
they weren't high to me. But if you believe Bill Simmons, he was told very specifically that he wasn't allowed to sign with the Lakers because of all the bullshit that he pulled.
I guess. Like, what do you mean? Is it told by who? Like, Russ had him whipping him? Like,
no, like Adam Silver was like, look, we can't let you go to the Lakers because of all of the rampant tampering.
I will say this. I think the vast majority of the behind the stage, the frozen envelope Patrick Ewing, I think the vast majority of that is bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm sure some of it is valid.
Oh yeah.
I am sure if you write down the 100 most crazy ass NBA conspiracy theories, 1 to 4 of them are true.
Do you think that David Stern made Jordan leave because of gambling?
No, I don't believe that one.
You think he really wanted to just go out and hit 187 for the Birmingham Barons?
I really do.
I mean, I really want to as well.
He literally went win a title, win a title, win a title. What's left? Like he just went like, I've got this shit. Let me try something. Like he is the most competitive dude in the world. Yeah, I think he CM Punk'd it. I think he Bo Jackson did. I think he did. I'm on top of this shit. I can't get any bigger. I can't get any better. Let me try and really next level this shit. It's like when he grew his Hitler mustache. I think that was just a fuck you universe. I think he was just like, Jesus, I'm this fucking cool. I'm gonna try and grow a Hitler mustache. Maybe that'll piss some people off. Let's see if I can get away with it. I did. Yep, I got away with it. Like he literally grew a toothbrush mustache. I cannot understand the reason why. If it wasn't just if he's just sitting at home going, I don't know, maybe I don't know, try this. Like honestly, no, I don't believe that one. I think at that point Jordan had more power than David Stern. I think David Stern goes, I want you to step down. Michael Jordan publicly goes, this dude wants me not to play basketball, and Stern loses his job.
Not out of the realm of possibility. We got a GPP question. You ready?
Sweet.
Becky Lynch, Ronda Rousey, or Charlotte in a GPP?
Woo!
I'm team Becky Lynch right now.
I mean, I love what Becky is doing.
Man.
Charlotte is by far the best of them as far as no offense to Becky. I love what Becky does. Nice Irish lass. Charlotte is incredible. Limited moveset, but her work rate, some of the shit she does is amazing. And Ronda is so much better than I thought she would be. That's really tough for me. We'll revisit that in 90 seconds. I'm like news checking just in case something breaks.
Yeah.
So we can fix it. But ask me that in a minute and a half. That's a really good one. I'm going to have to think about that for a while. I like those 3 ladies. It's a good question.
I don't have any interest in Graham from Charlotte today. Do you?
Not out of play if you need to spend 3,100 with Jalen Adams out. I think he's your best 3,100 and under on DK, if I'm correctly remembering that information. But,
now that they have Shelvin Mack, I'm just not interested.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the case. And Monk is back with the team. He's not in the G League, which a couple of people have mentioned. They brought him back up, and he is there. And ready to do his thing. So
he is. We have just under a minute.
Yeah.
Frazier, Felton, or Dotson, DK?
Dotson, then Felton for me.
Yeah, probably. I feel the same way there. Collins and Adams or Batum and Vooch in FanDuel Cash?
Batum and Vooch. Barely, though. That's almost identical projection for me.
Yeah. Oh, we got it. Knox or Deadman in a DK GPP? Boy.
I'll go with Deadman.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. Knox is just so not good.
3 days in a row. That's what tilted for me. But yeah, Knox. He was in that great spot, and I literally used my one time on him. Like, all right, here we go. My one time this year. Let's go, Kevin Knox. And like, if he'd have shot 40% from the field, he would have had like 34 and made me look really good. But no, didn't want to do it.
Well, if our ownership projections are correct, I've got 25% Anthony Davis, and the public is at 28, so I'll take it.
All right. Well, let's look at some really unexciting ownership on the first game.
Yeah, I can't wait.
We'll do both sites. Why not? It's the nice thing is they are very condensed.
Keep me too long. It is Valentine's Day.
Yeah, same, brother. Same. It's 7:38 though. So I mean, literally, if you're like late swapping and stuff, you're ready to go. An hour after lock, you can join all the slates and be cleared in. I have no idea what was the big tournament on DK. Not even logged in. Let me see if the 400K love bug. $14 entry. Cute. Very cute. I'll try to do FanDuel at the same time. So I shall not keep you long.
You're fine. Got time.
350K NBA shot. You don't have time for stupid names on FanDuel.
And they name like more than one tournament the shot, which is fucking so weird.
Yes, the $4.44 shot and the $9.99 shot's like, really? There's just no one had a thesaurus today, and y'all figured, fuck it.
Just name it a different word. Like, there's plenty of words.
I am with you, brother. People are destroying the language of Shakespeare, and I am not okay with it. All right, there we go. Now it's downloading. Imagine DraftKings not responding promptly and efficiently.
Hey, better now than before, Locke.
This will be interesting. Testament to our ownership here. Here we go. I think we did pretty good here looking at these first blush. We didn't talk about John Isaac. That would have been interesting for me. Here we go. Number 1, Jeremy Lamb, 33%. Bit less than we thought, I think. We're right about there. Meh. Again, I think I would want nominally less. If I was, again, playing this late, normally I don't think it out this way, which is why I sound so weird talking about this than every other show. Would probably have way less because, again, I'm building that really stupid thing.
We had him at 34.
Okay, so we missed by it's 33.14, so we missed by 0.86%. Want to use this as an extended advertisement for our ownership projections? So we're going to look bad if one of these ends up way off, but let's give it a shot.
I went with 23 Lamb, so I'm very happy about that number.
Yeah, that feels fine. Nick Batum, 28.13.
31.
Okay, within 3%. I mean, that's less than 10% deviation from the actual figures. That feels pretty good.
I have 60. I'm not really fond of that.
You have 60?
Yes.
Well, hopefully it's because you're running tons of guys. And again, like I don't have a problem with that where... So there's a weird thing here. If you're talking about, and there's some interesting sort of game theory here. If you're talking about doing whatever, Anthony Davis, Russ, Paul George thingamabob that I discussed at length, I like Mitch and Batum because they're chalkier, but it's really hard to imagine they don't give you like 20.
Yeah.
So it's just like, let me rotate those other 3 value spots I'm forcing in and try to get there with whatever, Augustine, Briscoe, Kem Birch, Malik Monk, whatever bullshit that I'm running out there, Knicks, etc. So I kind of like it in that way. You know what I'm saying? Like, I guess there's a chance you get screwed because you get 13 out of Batum. But
yeah, I would have happily walked that number down a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm being honest. Continue.
Number 3, Aaron Gordon, 22.43.
We had him at 25.
God, so good. So good. Like 10% off again. He's at 22.5. Number 4, Evan Fournier, 19.2.
We had him at 20.
We're good here, people. This is pretty impressive. Number 5, Marvin Williams, 18.8.
21.
Number 6, Cody Zeller, 18.8. Literally 0.02 less than Marvin.
19.
This is literally one of the dumbest things I've ever seen. So we've literally been within 10% difference and under. That's some brilliant shit. Kemba Walker, 18.5.
26.
Okay, so there's a significant.
Okay, so a little bit less on which means that who's gonna soak that sort of ownership up?
Westbrook. It's money and point guard. So I mean, it's DK where there really aren't any positions. FanDuel, you can make a much better if-then statement out of ownership.
Drew Holiday, I guess, could be seeing a little bit of a boost as well.
Yeah. What did we have Drew at final?
22. I don't know if there was an update after 6:30.
Yeah, that would have been. I mean, 22 is a brilliant number for him on a 3-game slate. Like that's at $8,500, 22% Drew Holiday is brilliant.
Right.
Again, this week I keep getting pushback on how did you like Karl-Anthony Towns? He played 27 minutes and got foul trouble and had like 44 fantasy points.
Yeah. What are you going to do there?
And he wasn't playing that well. He would have got, how'd you like Drew Holiday? He played 24 minutes. They lost by 20-something to the goddamn Magic.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't see that coming. You got me. But, by the way, in a related story, which I didn't bring up because it isn't really relevant, the Hornets have bludgeoned the piss out of the Magic in their 2 meetings this year. I believe they've won them by a combined 57? 59? I don't know if you have that handy.
I think someone mentioned in our chat today that they've beat them like a lot of times straight.
Yep. They're on a streak there too. So, and don't forget, coach revenge.
Yeah. So
there's all kinds of shit going on there, but you gotta think, like if you're looking for, random factors to think stuff, when I'm like, well, 3 nights in a row for Kevin Knox, rising stars, blah, blah, blah. How about I'm Steve Clifford, and the new guy at my job has beaten the piss out of me multiple times this year. I believe they played twice this year and lost by 35 and 22 or 35 and 24, or I'm getting both those numbers close. So that's a little extra drama there. Maybe you get 2 extra minutes out of Vooch.
Speaking of Vooch, what was his ownership?
We're not near it. 13.2.
Okay, yeah, we had him at 18.
Yeah, came in well under that too. So more people going with my plan.
Yeah.
So I'm taking away from this. The only guy in between where we left off with Kemba and Vooch is John Isaac at 18.
Ooh, okay. We had him at 9.
Yeah. He's sort of flavor of the week. I mean, it's not a good matchup for anyone there. Like
I have 0 Isaac.
What's his price up to? I don't know, 55?
58.
Yeah, 58 in this matchup. You're asking for a lot to happen. I mean, obviously not a guy who's out of play, and like no one who's going to play 30 minutes is out of play in a 3-game slate. But no reason to think it's particularly brilliant for him. And Charlotte's just slowed down a lot. Beginning of the year, they were moving. Like you talk about the absence of Cody Zeller as one of the reasons for Kemba Walker's struggles recently. Another one is they slowed down with largely the same personnel. They've really dialed it way, way back. Terrence Ross, 9.
Oh God! I must have walked my my Damian Dotson projection back a little too far. Barely got any, and this was a guy I was like heavily advocating for.
Well, are you all FanDuel or are you?
No, DK today.
Well, then you have time.
Yeah.
That's you got 22 minutes. I'll let you go in a minute, and you can fix some stuff. Anyhow, I'll just run it out here. Ross 9, Augustine 9, Briscoe 2, Birch 2, Weswundu 2. That's Weswundu's not good, but I mean he's gotten there a couple times recently. But MKG 1.3, Malik Monk 1, Guillermo Hernan Gomez, who I actually left ranked pretty significantly because without Biyombo there's at least some chance. I think I would rather Nerlens, but that's not that crackers. 0.75. Return of the Mac, 0.5. Miles Bridges, 0.26. Devontae Graham, 0.21. Frank Kaminsky, 0.2. Jerian Grant, also known as out of the rotation, 0.05. Dwayne Bacon, 0.04. Bismack Biyombo, 0.01. Congratulations, you played yourself. Didn't think Biyombo was going to be the guy to get there. Markel Fultz, so much. Share, by the way. Someone Fultz.
That's a perfect way to go out right now on that one.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll talk about the Rising Stars thing, but this slate would have been fun for me. I don't know. Yeah.
All-Star break, people. We've done it. We made it. We will have content up.
High fives. I feel like it went in a blur.
It really did.
I can't believe basketball is just my jam. I can't believe we're literally 3/4 of the way through the season almost. Like most of the teams have played 59 games, right? So I mean we're 70% of the way through.
Yeah, it's a bummer.
It is. I'm gonna be scavenging to try to find. In no time at all, I'll be sitting here trying to tell you how the 5th game of the Utah San Antonio series is gonna be different from the first 4.
Yeah.
You'll all be doing baseball. It's about 3 years in a row. What happens is the clock turns May, and everyone else does baseball, and it's like, all right, Eddie, good luck. You're doing hoops. It's like, okay. Hold it down.
Hit that like button, everybody.
What was the high today?
We got to 13 and change.
I told you. I nailed it. You're like, we won't get 1,000. I'm like, we'll get 1,300. I literally look at your Slack over an hour and 10 minutes ago.
1389.
I literally said we'll get 1389. You said?
Yep.
Near 1,400 on this terrible thing. The people come to see you. It's about the heads, I think.
It must be.
I think it's about the heads.
Tune in tomorrow to the NHL Live Before Lock show starting at 5:30 with our man Jake. Take a peek at our NHL product, which is fantastic. And then keep your eyes peeled for All-Star break videos and projections for the All-Star game coming out for Sunday.
Brilliant.
I'll see you guys in a week. Adios.
Take care, buddy.